Lloyd is a miserable loser who wastes his life learning magic, but dies for being too weak. However, everything changes when he gets reborn as a prince with god-level magic, and decides to use his new life to crack everyone. Before that, Lloyd was just a simple commoner who had a passion for magic, but the nobles decided to murder him because he was too weak, deeming him unworthy of using magic. When he is burned to death, all Lloyd can feel is the pain and beauty of the magic that engulfs him, so he wishes to the anime gods that he wants to master it. The next thing he knows is that he wakes up as a Tintin-looking little jit who is the seventh prince of a kingdom and is so powerful that Lloyd accidentally blasts a hole through the castle when he reaches his hand out. As he grows up as a noble, Lloyd has all his memories of his past life, and being a magic maniac, he spends his time reading spell books at the library. But there, he gets caught by Sylvia, the white-haired baddie of a maid, who pulls him away to go sword training. She insists that as a prince, Lloyd must be able to wield a sword, but all Lloyd wants is to learn more about magic, so he decides to impress her so she stops bothering him. To do that, Lloyd secretly cheats by using magic to enhance his abilities, even using magic that copies all her movements. With his magic, he's able to go toe-to-toe with her in swordsmanship, and she even praises him for the massive growth in his ability. However, when Lloyd delivers the finishing blow, she blocks him and calls him out for cheating, before sending him face first to the floor. She points out how he uses magic to make his sword longer and also to help him float. But instead of being upset, Sylvia starts screaming and hugging him, proud to see how amazing he is to be able to use 2 magic spells at once, not knowing that Lloyd actually used 4. Afterward, she takes him to take a bath with her and the other hot maids. There, the maids talk about the forbidden library underneath the castle, where there's a book that has a demon sealed in it. While everyone's distracted, Lloyd sneaks away from them and goes to the forbidden library out of his curiosity. Later, Lloyd uses invisibility magic to sneak past the idiotic guards and bypass the magical seal on the forbidden library. When he sees all the knowledge and books inside, he starts geeking out. But then, one book starts flying around, and it reveals itself as Grimm, the sealed demon. He praises Lloyd for being able to bypass the sealed door, and creates gold for Lloyd in exchange to break Grimm free from his seal. But Lloyd looks at the gold and calls him out for creating the gold from dirt, refusing to fall to the demon's cheap tricks. Lloyd then says he's going to strengthen the seal that imprisons Grimm, and Grimm starts getting desperate, so he starts offering Lloyd things from Hot Babes, the new GTA 6, and even teaching him ancient spells. When Lloyd hears the last part, he completely folds, and he frees Grimm from the seal. With the demon free, Lloyd asks him to teach him ancient spells, and Grimm agrees to do it by blowing Lloyd up. Grimm then laughs, thinking he managed to fool Lloyd. But to his surprise, Lloyd is still in one piece after managing to create a magical barrier to protect himself. Annoyed, Grimm starts spamming the same magic over and over again, all the while Lloyd watches in awe. Lloyd wonders how painful it is to be hit by the demon's magic, so Lloyd tests it out on his own finger, and he starts screaming at the sensation like a true masochist. The demon is in disbelief, seeing that this little jit took a powerful spell of his like it's nothing, so he tries running away but gets blocked by another barrier. Lloyd reveals that he once caused an accident, so he decides to be extra careful by always creating barriers around himself. Then, like a complete lunatic, Lloyd demands that Grimm show his defensive magic, and Lloyd shoots out a powerful spell at him, turning him into Yamcha. After hours of getting hit by magic, Lloyd restores the whole library back before it was destroyed, and Grimm becomes obedient out of fear, even offering to be Lloyd's familiar. Lloyd accepts and asks Grimm to change forms to avoid suspicion. Grimm happily turns into a doll-shaped demon, secretly hoping Lloyd will put his guard down so Grimm can take over his body. But when Grimm attaches to Lloyd's hip, he feels the immensely powerful magic and realizes that he's outclassed and unable to even take over his finger. Some days later, another prince is preparing himself for his day, and he goes to the library to pay his brother a visit. He turns out to be Prince Albert, and he invites Lloyd to join him for magic practice. Once there, Albert demonstrates his fire magic in front of everyone, including Lloyd, and he completely impresses them with how accurate his aim is. Lloyd informs Grimm that Albert is the prince that everyone expects to be the next king, considering how smart, strong, and capable he is as a person. Then, it's Lloyd's turn to show off his ability. But Lloyd tells Grimm that he doesn't have any interest in becoming the next king and purely just wants to learn about magic, so he decides to shoot his fire magic and merely grazes the target to avoid impressing too much. While others comment that Lloyd is still not as good as his brother, Grimm, on the other hand, sees how insane it is that he manages to bend his fire magic so he can scrape the target. However, Albert notices something and decides to leave and let Lloyd use the target practice for himself. During tea time, Albert's entourage asks him why he's showing so much attention towards Lloyd, and Albert scolds them, telling them that they failed to see the potential in his brother, pointing out how Lloyd deliberately grazes all the targets in the same way. He states that he believes Lloyd would one day be the Grand Sage, and Albert believes that when he becomes king, Lloyd will be extremely useful to him and the kingdom. When everyone is gone, Lloyd gets excited, finally having the chance to test out new magic spells without anyone interfering. The spell he wants to try is the one Grimm did, but Grimm tells him only demons can do that one. However, Lloyd refuses to take that answer and experiments by putting Grimm into his hand to replicate the double incantation. Lloyd asks if Grimm can keep up, and Grimm confidently says that as a demon, he's head and shoulders above Lloyd, but when they start combining their spells, Grimm starts tweaking, seeing just how much more advanced Lloyd's magic is. Panicking, Grimm asks Lloyd what he tried to do, and when Lloyd reveals he tried to do his spell stacking, Grimm tells him that spell stacking should only combine 2 spells and not 100. As he tried to do just then, realizing that Grimm cannot keep up, Lloyd decides to take over his mouth as well, and he then starts casting the spell he wants to test out. Experiencing the level of magic Lloyd is casting, Grimm realizes that this dude is cracked beyond belief, seeing that he's combining 2 magic from 2 different natures. It blows up to the sky on par with 1,000 nukes, leaving Grimm traumatized, and when Lloyd looks up, he realizes that he accidentally creates a night sky in the middle of noon, so he quickly calls off the magic to avoid getting attention. What he did made the newspaper, and Grimm shows it to Lloyd, but Lloyd is more focused on what is on the other side, about how adventurers brought back magical items from the dungeon. That gives Lloyd an idea, and he decides that he wants to go to a dungeon. Graham quickly stops him, reminding him that he cannot leave the castle that easily, but Lloyd pulls out an acorn, and using his magic, he creates a direct, perfect replica of himself from the pine cone, which impresses Grimm. However, Lloyd points out the big issue, which is Sylvia, who he knows will notice, considering that she even noticed how he grew inches in places that she shouldn't notice. However, Lloyd still has a plan, and he decides to split Grimm's body and soul, putting the body in his hand and the soul into his duplicate, which manages to trick the other minds. As Lloyd flies in search of a dungeon he can enter, Grimm has an idea of using the duplicate body to create havoc, but before he does so, Lloyd tells him how happy he is to have Grimm as his familiar, and that makes Grimm tear up and stops his devious plan. Minutes later, while searching for dungeon, Lloyd spots a hot baddie of an adventurer who specializes in martial arts named Tao. He witnesses the girl absolutely demolishing a group of orcs, turning them all into crispy bacon. Grimm asks what's so special about her, so Lloyd explains that he once read that martial artists use their ki like Goku as the source of their power. Suddenly, she spots them and demands that they reveal themselves. When they refuse to do so, Tao confronts them directly, but is surprised to see a completely handsome hunk, who introduces himself as Robert, the rookie adventurer. Lloyd breathes a sigh of relief, after managing to use his magic to change his appearance, combining his own face with Albert's, creating the ultimate handsome species. Seeing him, Tao completely folds, remembering how, for all her life, she has only been meeting ugly-looking dudes like this video's viewers. But she now makes it her mission to make him her boyfriend and get her cheeks cracked. Lloyd then mentions how he wants to explore a dungeon, and Tao quickly volunteers to accompany him. Inside the dungeon, Tao defeats more monsters, hoping it will impress Lloyd, but she's disappointed to find that he's more interested in some glowing crystals like those hoes who believe in star signs. They then set up camp, and Lloyd talks about how Tao uses chi the same way Lloyd uses mana for his magic spells. Tao explains that martial artist training starts and ends with breathing, just like Tanjiro and the Demon Slayers, but to her shock, Lloyd himself has started trying to master it, which ends with him choking. She insists that chi breathing is dangerous, but when she sees that Lloyd is persistent about it, she decides to teach him more about it. Meanwhile, Grimm is enjoying his time eating cake and drinking tea in Lloyd's duplicate body, but to his shock, Silva pops up. Back in the dungeon, the duo finds a treasure chest, and Lloyd suspects that it won't open until they beat a boss battle. It amuses Tao to see someone like Lloyd, seeing how he's more interested in the boss battle and how willing he is to learn something new, which makes her even more convinced that he's the perfect baby daddy for her. They then open the chest, but Lloyd notices something and quickly pulls Tao out of danger. From the chest, a skeleton-looking dude emerges, proving that Lloyd's theory about boss battles is true. Seeing that they are facing a leech, Tao quickly uses one of her techniques and blows Lloyd away, far from the dungeon to save him, knowing that a leech is a high-level monster that she herself doesn't think she can defeat. The leech then throws some of his magical spells in the form of sharp glasses at Hao, but she avoids them, convincing herself that sacrificing herself for Lloyd is the best course of action. Meanwhile, Lloyd is in midair, wondering why Dao blows him away, so he creates a barrier to stop himself. He asks Grim whether he should return and help Dao, but when he looks at his hand, he realizes that Grim is not responsive and is begging Lloyd to come home, which makes Lloyd realize that something went wrong. Back with Dao, she suffers major wounds but refuses to fall back. The leech acknowledges that he knows that she uses Chai techniques and informs her how he once ate a martial artist to absorb all of their knowledge and experience. But he also says that from what he sees, Dao is not worth eating, considering how weak she is. Dao responds, saying that the leech is similar to Lloyd in the sense that they are both interested in knowledge. But she adds that, unlike the leech, Lloyd was someone that is kind and even showed interest in her technique, which was considered a pathetic technique by most people. She then charges at the leech out of anger, repeatedly punching and hitting its barrier with her chi techniques, with each hit harder than the last. Then, with everything she has, she delivers one devastating blow, managing to put a hole in the barrier, making her believe that she has won. But the leech reveals himself above her, saying how pathetic she is, and delivers a devastating attack on her. However, Lloyd shows up just in time to save her, and he's fully invested in the idea of battling a leech. When Tao tries to stop him, she feels an enormous bloodlust coming from him, so she decides to stay silent. Lloyd bursts out of his own barrier behind the leech, surprising everyone. But Tao quickly realizes that he's using Chai technique. He then creates another barrier, and while the leech keeps spamming attacks, Lloyd tries to work out how to combine Chi and magic. He suddenly remembers Tao, and starts breathing even deeper and focusing even more. He then shatters his own barrier to breathe in more air, all the while dodging the leech's attack. Then, Lloyd manages to successfully combine the two different natures, creating a whole different source of power. With his newfound power, he starts creating destructive discs like his Krillin and spamming them at the leech, which scares the monster. Seeing that he's facing an absence cycle who manages to combine two polar opposites of power sources, Lloyd then manages to scratch the leech, so the leech quickly creates a barrier to protect himself. But Lloyd makes the disc even sharper than before and slices the leech and his barrier in half, defeating it once and for all, while Tao watches in awe, seeing Lloyd successfully learning something new. Afterwards, they open the treasure chest and find a disappointingly small blade, but Lloyd notices that the blade is covered in mana. Suddenly, the treasure chest starts sinking, and the whole dungeon starts collapsing. And when Lloyd asks why, Dao explains that dungeons will collapse every time its treasure chest is opened. Seeing this phenomenon, Lloyd becomes extremely interested in the treasure chest, and goes to pull it from the dungeon itself, all the while Dao is panicking with everything collapsing around them. After escaping, she asks him why he used Chi techniques instead of magic, when faced against the leech, and she suspects that he did it for her, but to her disappointment, Lloyd informs her that it was simply because it was fun. He suddenly remembers that he needs to go home, and he quickly flies away. But before he goes, Tao tells her that she intends to become even stronger, and Lloyd keeps that promise. When Lloyd finally reaches home, he finds Grim beaten to a pulp, and Grim explains that Silva dragged him to sword training and almost made Grim see God when she discovered that Lloyd suddenly became weak. Later, they examine the small knife from the treasure chest, and Lloyd manages to scrape from the surface traces of magic, which is a direct result of enchantment magic. However, Lloyd admits that enchantment magic is difficult to learn, so instead of studying it, he uses the leftover mana from the blade, analyzes it himself, and recycles it to other weapons. From his experiment, he discovers that he needs oil and silver if he wants to enchant more weapons. So for the silver, he approaches the king like he's a sugar daddy and asks him for some silver coins, which the king is more than happy to give. Then, to get oil, he battles and impresses Silva in sword training, winning himself a jug of oil after showing her his growth in swordsmanship. With that, they cook up the silver and oil in a pot. Then Lloyd approaches Albert to ask him for some weapons for him to experiment on. Without any struggles, the knights are more than happy to hand Lloyd their swords, even though they doubt that Lloyd is able to do any enchantment magic. When Grim sees that Lloyd is doubted, he wants nothing more than to prove them wrong, so he helps Lloyd out, alongside the duplicate, to enchant their swords. After practically experimenting day and night, writing down the enchantment on the blades and even ruining some of the blades, they bring back the result in the form of 50 enchanted weapons. While Albert is truly impressed, one knight doubts Lloyd's capabilities, but when he goes to put his blade in his sheath, the sheath gets sliced in half with how sharp his sword has become, proving that his enchantment magic truly works. Albert then receives his special sword back, enchanted with multiple enchantments, making it the ultimate blade, and Lloyd expresses how much he wants to see his brother in action using it. Hearing that, Albert invites Lloyd to come with him to see the sword in action when he goes monster hunting. The next morning, Lloyd and the noble family travel to the forest using a carriage, with him happily sleeping on his brother's shoulder. Once inside the forest, Lloyd sits beside Silva, and she notices just how excited he is, and Lloyd tells her how happy he is to spend time with his brother and be outside the castle. Silva thanks Albert for letting her come with them, and Albert points out that she would miss Lloyd when he's gone anyway, but Silva quickly shuts him up, refusing to be called a simp. Suddenly, they get ambushed by kobolds, and the guards believe this will be a perfect practice before they face the monsters. Meanwhile, Lloyd pretends like he's scared, and Grim calls him out for using cheat techniques to detect enemies around them, which makes Grim realize just how terrified Lloyd has become, having enemy detection and barriers around him. When the enemies attack, they easily get sliced in half, and the guards are bamboozled by how sharp their swords have become, while Lloyd watches as his enchantment magic works perfectly. Albert then probably declares that his brother is a genius for his ability, to which Sylvia agrees. Suddenly, Tao pops up, defeating one of the enemies, and Lloyd is surprised to see her, considering that he's in his real form and not as Robert. How quickly notices that Lloyd uses T breathing, and is also confused by how similar he looks to Robert. Before she continues her suspicion, Sylvia interrupts, ordering Tao to get her cheap existence away from the seventh prince of the kingdom. It turns into a rivalry between the two baddies, but Albert quickly diffuses the situation and invites Tao to join them. That night, they set up camp, and Tao points out how similar Albert looks to Robert as well. The same goes with Lloyd. Meanwhile, Lloyd deliberately avoids Tao, and he sneaks into his tent but is ambushed by two massive badonkadonks belonging to the white-haired baddie herself, Sylvia. She explains that she will be staying in his tent for the night to protect him, considering that all the other guards are Albert's men. When Lloyd tries to run away, she pins him down with her creamy snoo-snoo, but Tao walks in and misunderstands what's happening, thinking meaty domains are about to be expanded. It triggers a fight between the two girls once more, and Sylvia just walks out of the tent looking like a complete 10 out of 10, giving the guards and us audience some good old fan service. Meanwhile, Lloyd quickly walks away to his brother, and Albert advises him to be careful with women, considering that Sylvia looks at him as a man, not a student. Tao then reveals that she's there after she got hired to fix an old shrine, which is located at the top of the mountain. Hearing that, Albert urges her to stay with them until the morning so they can go there together. Suddenly, a giant beowulf pops up, and Sylvia orders Lloyd to stand behind them, while the guards try to handle the beast. When they fail, Albert steps up and, with a combination of his magic and his enchanted sword, he fights for the kingdom and turns this beast into a puppy satay. Everyone praises Albert for his power, but he gives all the credit to Lloyd and his ability to enchant the sword. But then, Grim urgently informs Lloyd that the abandoned shrine has a demon seal inside it. In that moment, the crispy dog gets back up, and more monsters pop up, shocking everyone. From the beowulf's mouth emerges a demon who introduces himself as Pazuzu, and he orders all of the monsters to slaughter everyone. Albert and the others attack, but they realize quickly that the monsters regenerate right after getting hit. Meanwhile, Lloyd and Grim hide behind Sylvia, and Grim informs Lloyd that Pazuzu is using mana transmutation, which makes the monsters obedient and regenerate like their Deadpool. Instead of being frightened, Lloyd becomes interested and asks Graham to teach him how to do mana transmutation. Back in the battle, Pazuzu starts insulting Sylvia and her duty of babysitting a duty-smelling diaper baby like Lloyd, and that completely triggers Sylvia's anger, refusing to let her prince get insulted. She steps up and returns to favor by roasting Pazuzu and his crusty-looking dog face before declaring that she will cut his head off. When Pazuzu tries talking once more, Sylvia savagely calls his breath stinkier than Bonnie Blue's Gushy Gushy, and that triggers him to attack her. But to his shock, she dodges and manages to cut all his legs off. It forces the demon to regenerate its legs, but because of it, the other monsters face the effect, having to regenerate more slowly. Seeing this, Albert urges Sylvia to continue slaughtering Pazuzu, and she's more than happy to do so. Meanwhile, Grim continues to teach Lloyd how to do mana transportation, and to his surprise, Lloyd manages to learn fast, and even create a mana flower that even has a scent to it. Back with Sylvia, she borrows a sword from a guard, and she almost busts her cream when she finds out that it's enchanted by Lloyd's magic. Seeing her like that makes Pazuzu disgusted, so he vows that after he defeats her, he will use Lloyd as his personal night toy and let other monsters take turns. The demon then bites Sylvia, Believing he had won, but inside his mouth, Sylvia vows that Pazuzu will die by her hand, and she chops him up like dog sushi, refusing to stop until he's a million pieces, all the while others watch in fear and awe. Meanwhile, Lloyd watches, and he matches his mana transmutation with Sylvia, as she approaches the demon to deliver the final blow. But before she gets to chop his head off, Pazuzu releases miasma, and it makes everyone collapse, except for Tao. Pazuzu then exits his beowulf costume, revealing his true demonic form, and he furiously smacks Sylvia away to the lake. Sylvia manages to survive, even serving a Playboy Mansion look in the process, and she still insults the demon for smelling like a dog's doo-doo. When Pazuzu attacks again, Tao protects Sylvia, and Sylvia tries to convince Tao that she's okay, but ends up collapsing due to the damage she took. It leaves Tao having to face the demon alone, all the while she has to save her breath with her chai techniques to avoid collapsing to the miasma. The demon attacks first, and she tries to counter him, but he catches her and almost breaks her spine. Seeing her from up close, Pazuzu realizes just how much of a baddie she is, so he offers her to be his baby mama, but she refuses and blows him away, refusing to let his crusty hands touch her. Suddenly, another monster attacks her, and she realizes the other monsters have regenerated, and it puts her in a cornered position. Pazuzu then approaches her and forces her to suck in all of his miasma from point-blank range, but just before Tao loses her consciousness, she vows that her beloved Robert will show up and beat Pazuzu to a pulp. It ends with her in the monster's throat, and Pazuzu then diverts his attention towards Sylvia, whom he believes needs to be punished for what she did. However, Lloyd nonchalantly pops up and starts talking with Pazuzu like they're the best of buddies. But Pazuzu quickly realizes that Lloyd is there and is shocked by why he's unaffected by all the miasma around him. He then notices Grimm beside him and realizes that he's a demon, which makes him question why a demon would be loyal to a human in the first place, especially in his chibi form. Hearing that, Grimm changes his mind and tells Pazuzu that he was about to give him some advice on going against Lloyd, but after the insults, he decides not to, just so he can watch Pazuzu get absolutely smushed. Feeling insulted, Pazuzu sends all of his monsters against Lloyd, but before they even get to him, Lloyd manages to master mana transmutation, and it turns all the monsters into cuddly, loving animals with his warm and beautiful mana. Lloyd then approaches the dog that swallowed Tao, and orders it to spit her out, to which it gladly does. Meanwhile, Pazuzu watches in confusion and tries to blow his miasma again to get the monsters back to his side, but the monsters instead charge at him furiously after how Pazuzu murdered all of their parents in the past. The monsters all work in unison, working together, completely overwhelming Pazuzu, but the demon counters them and proves that he's too much for the monsters to take on. Pazuzu then mocks Lloyd, telling him that magic doesn't work against demons, and Grimm confirms it, telling Lloyd that demons can't die by getting hit with magic. After hearing that, instead of being discouraged, Lloyd feels curiosity and intends to find out if the theory is true, so he activates his magic fully and exposes how powerful his mana truly is, which leaves Isuzu bamboozled. Grimm tells Pazuzu that it is a mistake for him to go against Lloyd, stating that this blue-haired little jit has the mana level that overwhelms both Grimm's and Pazuzu's mana level combined. Lloyd then activates his barrier, trying to catch Pazuzu, and Pazuzu goes to escape realizing that he has no shot at winning. Pazuzu keeps running, realizing Lloyd wants to put him in a cage and turn him into a rat to experiment on. But Lloyd decides to up the levels, and with Grimm's help on his hand, he manages to create an extremely powerful barrier that Pazuzu cannot escape from, despite all of his efforts. Lloyd then tells Pazuzu that, after seeing all the devious things he did, from turning poor animals into monsters and almost turning Tao into his baby mama, Lloyd intends to test out his demonic body against Lloyd's magic. Isuzu starts begging Light for mercy, even offering him a whole night with baddies like Mia Khalifa and Lana Rhodes, but Lloyd doesn't care about any hoes and starts casting hundreds of spells under a minute at the demon, which resulted in Pazuzu turning into a burnt fried egg. Just then, Albert and the others wake up, and Lloyd quickly makes some excuse to avoid suspicion, saying that Robert the Mage pops up and defeats Pazuzu to save them. While the others are celebrating the death of the demon, Grimm approaches Pazuzu and tells him of his plan to defeat Lloyd one day. Hearing that Pazuzu puts his faith in Grimm and gives him some of his powers, which Grimm accepts and intends to one day use against Lloyd when he's strong enough. Afterwards, they return home, and the king praises Albert for a successful monster hunt and intends to reward Robert and Tao for their help in defeating the demon Pazuzu. When he asks where they are, Albert explains that Robert disappeared right after saving them, and Tao went off to go find him, not knowing that Lloyd tricked her into going away to avoid being exposed to the truth that he is Robert. But then Albert steps up and states that it was Lloyd's contribution that helped them the most, considering that it was his enchantment magic that helped them go through the monster hunt smoothly. So with that, Albert firmly believes that despite being the youngest of the 7 princes, Lloyd deserves to get a spot and compete against the others to become the next king as a candidate. The king asks if it's okay with Albert, considering it will add another rival, and Albert firmly believes that if he loses fair and square, then he hopes the next game will be a righteous one. With that consideration, the king officially offers Lloyd to join and become a candidate as the next king, but Lloyd nonchalantly rejects the offer. He then goes outside to play with a bear-wolf that followed them home after Lloyd freed him from Pazuazu's mana transmutation, and Grimm feels jealous seeing Lloyd play with the fluffy puppy, considering he never showed attention towards him that way. So Grimm changes form a little bit, making himself fluffier, and while Lloyd plays around with him, Sylvia pops up, forcing Lloyd to hide Grimm inside the bear-wolf's fur. Lloyd then tells Sylvia he has decided to name his new pet Shiro, and Sylvia informs him that he should start training his new pet. Grimm watches closely and sees truly just how much of a magic maniac Lloyd is after seeing him decline the position of king. Meanwhile, the king watches and is in awe with how modest Lloyd is as a person, but Albert firmly believes that in the future Lloyd will take a role even bigger than a king. Some days later, Lloyd manages to get Shiro to follow his orders like a pet, but when Lloyd tries to give him a more complicated order, the second Shiro receives the order, his brain almost turns to mush. He wonders if there's someone they can ask for help, and in that moment, Sylvia and Lloyd think of Princess Alice, who is the 6th princess. They go to her tower, where they see multiple monsters, all chilling in their habitats. Grimm asks Lloyd who Alice is, and Lloyd explains that Alice is his older sister, who specializes in loving animals. Suddenly, Lloyd gets kissed on the lips like it's Game of Thrones by his sister, who is very happy to see him. Alice's maid, Eris, then runs down, urging Alice not to treat their guests like that. But Alice says that she just cannot hold herself back with how cute Lloyd is. They then sit down, and Alice instantly guesses that they are here to ask about Shiro. Sylvia tells Lloyd that she doesn't think Alice knows what mana is and how to handle a bear wolf, but Lloyd urges her that they should stick a bit longer. He then asks Alice to let them see one of her monsters, and Alice calls up a Fenrir, who surprises Lloyd with how smart it is. It confuses Lloyd how Alice commanded Fenrir with such complicated orders and not lift a finger, so Lloyd begs Alice to teach him, and Alice simply tells Lloyd that the secret ingredient is love, and she proves it by getting all her monsters to cuddle up to her. While the maids think that Lloyd can't do what Alice did, Alice believes that anyone can do it, stating that all Lloyd needs to do is feel the love. In that moment, all the animals showcase their love to the maids in the freakiest way possible, but that only makes Lloyd even more interested. Seeing him like that, Sylvia imagines Lloyd interested in love and expressing all of it to her, even begging her to make him cream with her seafood wallet. Lloyd then tells everyone that Alice wasn't giving commands to her animals by using her hands, but she sends her commands by using her mana subconsciously. Lloyd then tries to do the same, and after sending his command like it's Bluetooth, Shiro does exactly the tomfoolery that Lloyd wants him to do. Alice gets upset, saying that he is wrong and love is all they needed, but Lloyd says that she's correct, and love did play a role in what he did. Lloyd starts yapping about love and how it's all they need, but the girls watch him and see how cute he is, so they all decide to swarm him. Later, Lloyd is on their way back when Albert suddenly pops up and asks Lloyd to come with him, saying that he needs to introduce Lloyd to someone. It turns out to be the 4th prince and Lloyd's other older brother, Dean. They all gather at the blacksmith's place, and Dean tells Lloyd that he wants to see how he used enchanted magic on Albert's spellbound sword. As Lloyd is working, Dean still refuses to believe that Lloyd can do something that professionals aren't able to do. But when Lloyd shows the finished product, Dean is completely bamboozled, seeing how the sword is enchanted with multiple top-level magic. He then acknowledges Lloyd as the real deal and says that with him by his side, Dean can finally achieve his biggest dreams by combining his blacksmith skills alongside Lloyd's enchantment magic. Dean then expresses how in the past he almost let go of his dreams when he found out that he couldn't use magic. But now that he has Lloyd by his side, he can create a future where everyone can use magic swords. Hearing that, Lloyd decides to help him out and suggests a powerful spell, and Dean believes that the spell is too complicated, but Lloyd says that he has a way to make it work. However, after Lloyd writes down the spell, it destroys the steel it's supposed to enchant. Just then, they notice Sylvia watching from the outside, and Sylvia decides to join them in their experiment. After multiple attempts, the steel keeps breaking, and Grimm informs him that the mana essence that he's provided with is weak. Lloyd asks Dian about it, and when Dian reveals that he bought the mana essence for cheap, Lloyd realizes their issue this whole time. He discovers that the hematite in the essence is not enough, so he asks Dian if he has any hematite. When he says he doesn't, Lloyd secretly wishes he could go to dungeons to get them. Suddenly, Sylvia suggests the very thing that he just thought of, and she reveals that the king actually wanted Lloyd to go to the dungeons to learn about the real world. The next day, Sylvia takes Lloyd to an adventurers guild, and there, the receptionist tells Lloyd to put his hand on a magic ball to determine his power level. Realizing he's on par with Goku, Lloyd desperately lowers his magic level down, and it results in him only achieving level E adventure, which gets laughter from people at the guild. However, the receptionist tells Lloyd that his magic level is extremely high, even on par with an A-level adventurer named Silver Blader. Hearing that the other adventurers feel insulted, refusing to believe that this little squirt is on par with a legend that is Silver Blader. One of the adventurers invites Sylvia to join their party instead of being with Lloyd, even offering to experience what being Eiffel Tower would feel like. But she cuts the dude's mustache, and the receptionist reveals that Sylvia is the Silver Blader herself. However, the receptionist informs them that they need to be level B to go into dungeons. But then, Tao pops up after failing to find Robert, and she decides to help them on their dungeon mission in trade of getting a date with Prince Albert. They then go look at the quest board, and Sylvia informs Lloyd that, despite her greatness, there are people she failed to defeat, and they are called the Assassin's Guild. Meanwhile, Albert asks Dian how far their progress is, and Dian says that it will take a few days before Lloyd gets back home with the ingredients. Seeing Albert's reaction, Dian realizes that a war is coming and insists that their weapons will be ready. Albert put aside all of that worry, saying that he simply wanted Dian to get closer to Lloyd and not worry about the war. However, Albert encourages Dian to continue with his spellbound sword experiment, believing it will change their future. Just then, they see that Lloyd has returned, and they waste no time working. When they test the product, it blows their expectations, and they decide to mass-produce it. That night, as Lloyd is about to sleep, he senses a powerful but hidden presence in the middle of the castle, belonging to an assassin. Lloyd then confronts the assassin, and she tries to run away, but Lloyd creates a barrier to trap her. The assassin then releases poison into the air, and Lloyd tries to use his magic to purify it. But to his shock, it does nothing, which ends with weakening. Lloyd knows that his purifying magic can nullify any poison, so he concludes that her poison uses mana behind it, and that she is the poison blighted. The girl then introduces herself as Ren, and using her poison, she destroys the barrier behind her so she can escape. Before leaving, she assures him that he won't die and will only suffer for a few days. When she's gone, Grimm pops and asks if he's not going to chase her, and Lloyd informs Grimm that he is already tracking her movement with the goal of finding out where she and the others are hiding. Grimm asks what he means by that, and Lloyd reveals that he suspected that the Assassin's Guild is near, the same group of assassins that Sylvia told him about. Somewhere in the city, the Assassin's Guild gathers, and they receive a report from Ren about her brief battle with Lloyd and how the kingdom is making spellbound swords in preparation for the war. Ren wants to suggest they take advantage of the war, but the others remind her that their leader is gone, and that she shouldn't try to take over. But Ren refuses to believe that, insisting that their leader, Jade, is coming back. Suddenly, one of the members detects Lloyd's presence, and it forces Lloyd to come out of hiding. Lloyd goes to confront them, and the assassins know that behind the cute face, Lloyd is actually dangerous, so they decide that they cannot let him leave. Lloyd then releases his barrier and uses Tao's martial arts ability after tracing her movement, challenging the assassins to a fight. The green-haired Babylon attacks first, introducing himself as the Warp Blighted, who's capable of bending his body to immense levels. Suddenly, Lloyd feels his body sinking in weight and realizes that he's facing the cursed Blighted, Crow, whose orders carry mana in it. Then, the bald-headed Galileo attacks, and when Lloyd dodges, he traps Lloyd in his spider webs, revealing himself as the Web Blighted. Suddenly, the pink-haired busty baddie, Talia, attacks Lloyd, and reveals her ability to hurt herself and make her opponent suffer the same injury, revealing herself as the Pain Blighted. The assassins then mock Lloyd for attacking their base, insisting it's the end for him, but Lloyd starts giggling as, instead of fear, he feels heavily interested in them. He instantly heals his injuries, shocking all of them, and then prepares to go on the offensive, insisting that it's their turn to show Lloyd their defense. He then uses Sylvia's battling ability, and Galileo feels fear seeing how similar he is to a deadly swordsman that he once battled. With two blades in his hands, Lloyd moves quickly, taking the assassins by surprise and completely dominating Babylon. Others try to help, But Lloyd dodges Crow's attack, forcing his words to hit Galilea accidentally, smashing him into Talia. Lloyd then turns to Crow, and before he gets his words out, Lloyd completely chefs him up like a fruit bowl. Seeing this, Galilea charges in, leaving the web-covered Talia in a fan service moment. While they're distracted, Lloyd strikes Talia, and she warns him that if he injures her, he will get hurt as well, but it instead excites him and makes him want to see more. He fully blasts her and breaks her back, which directly affects him. Galilea quickly moves in to hold him, but Lloyd slips from his grip, and Thunder blasts him away. Seeing all of this, Ren feels true fear, and she's unable to move while Lloyd approaches her. Before anything happened, Galileo quickly stops Lloyd, insisting that he not attack Ren, explaining that Ren doesn't have control over her poison, and the same goes for the others, who are forced to live as outlaws because they're unable to control their own mana. Galilea then charges, but Lloyd dodges and brutally blasts him from the back. Seeing this, Ren feels anger and releases her toxins, not caring about anything anymore. But suddenly, Galileo gets up like nothing happened, and he starts crying out of happiness, saying that he's able to control his mana. Lloyd explains that he engraved a spell on Galileo's body to help him stop spewing out his own magic, which Galileo is grateful for, and Lloyd invites the others to get the same treatment out of his own kindness. After he engraves the spell on everyone's body, they all get emotional, especially Crow, who is now able to speak normally without hurting people. They then formally welcome Lloyd as one of them, even giving him clothes after his old clothes ripped from the battle, while Ren objects to that decision. The others insist that they owe Lloyd their life after how he changed the course of their future, and Ren tries to remind them that Lloyd creates weapons for the war, but Grimm defends Lloyd, saying that making magical weapons is simply Lloyd's idea of a good time. They then sit down for a feast, and Galilea insists that Lloyd now knows the truth about the Assassin's Guild and their leader, Jade. He explains that just like the rest of them, Jade also struggled with controlling his mana, but what makes his situation worse is that his ability is instant transmission, just like Goku, but because he couldn't control it, he randomly pops away somewhere random, forcing him to travel back to the crew all the time. Before, Jade gathered them and created the Assassin's Guild, whose purpose is to take on jobs that the Adventurers Guild couldn't do as their form of service for the greater good, even though they had to live as outlaws. He expressed his belief that one day they would be accepted once more, even though they were unable to control their own magic, and finally live away from the darkness and from people's hatred. Galilea then explains that with the rumors of an upcoming war, the Assassin's Guild is planning to put a stop to it. Just then, a message comes from out of thin air, and it comes from Jade, who invites them to go somewhere. Right after they're gone, Sylvia arrives with Shiro to save Lloyd, and all she finds is a message from Lloyd. She brings it to Albert and the others, and the message reads that Lloyd has joined the Assassin's Guild to meet with their kingdom's enemy to stop the war. However, Albert and Sylvia assume the worst, thinking that Lloyd was kidnapped and that the freaky assassins did the diddle with him. Considering that they found his clothes smothered in sticky substances similar to spider webs, so they declare war. Hours before, when they read Jade's message, they found out that Jade had become the Lord of Lordost, the direct enemies of Lloyd's kingdom to stop the war, and he now wanted the others to join and live together with him. They then told Lloyd that they would repay him one day, but Ren insisted that Lloyd join them so he could put the spell on Jade as well. However, Lloyd points out that Jade managed to teleport the letter straight to them, and that made everyone realize that Jade had managed to gain control of his own power. It made them all question whether Jade had been lying to them all this time, but Ren insisted that maybe, unlike them, Jade managed to gain control of his powers by himself. Hearing that, Lloyd decided to come with them, wanting to learn more about teleportation magic, and he assures Ren that they will find out the truth, which leaves Ren's heart beating faster. They then head to the Kingdom of Lordost using Lloyd's flight, which leaves all of them slumped when they land. Seeing the tired state they are in, Lloyd decides that they should take a break, but Ren takes that as an opportunity for her to show off her survival skills to Lloyd. The others explain that Ren has been living in the forest after she took her own parents' lives with her poison, and they reveal that it was Jade who took her in. Years ago, Jade took Ren to the assassin's hiding and insisted that they take care of her after the tragedy. The others were worried about Ren's poison ability, but Jade insisted that it was their duty to help people who were like them, even though it was extremely dangerous. Seeing Jade like that, everyone agreed to his plan and even started contributing, with Galilea wanting to be Ren's teacher, and others planning to make clothes for Ren. After years of growing as a family, they managed to make clothes for her that would stop her poison from spreading, and Ren teared up in the face of their kindness, all because Jade refused to turn his back on a cursed little girl. Hearing this touching story, Lloyd now wants to meet Jade. Then, Ren returns and makes a pot of stew that looks like my granny's diarrhea, and the others are scared to eat it, even reminding Ren that there's a prince with them. But to their surprise, Lloyd is more than happy to eat and slurp the black juice, considering that in his past life, he was living as a total brokey who eats junk. Seeing that, they all eat and enjoy the night full of laughter and warmth. They then tell Lloyd how, before heading to Lordost, Jade revealed how he was the third prince of the kingdom and ran away to create the Assassin's Guild and forget about his noble life. He expected everyone to be upset with him, but to his surprise, everyone was fine with him lying to them about his past. That touched him, so he told them of his mission to go to Lordost and stop the war, but he made all of them promises that if he didn't return, they would keep the guild going. However, he also promised that if he did become the Lord of Lordos, he would create a place where blighted like them could live in peace. Hearing that, Grim and Lloyd fully believed that Jade was such a wonderful person who cared so much about others. Hours later, they reach the castle, but seeing that Lloyd is asleep, Ren suggests that they let Lloyd rest while they scout the castle, worried that Jade might have been manipulated to send the letter by the people of Lordost. Everyone agrees, and they leave Lloyd asleep while they continue to the castle. There, they find the people preparing for a party, and they wonder if the preparation is for them. Just then, a person recognizes them as the Assassin's Guild, and the dude reveals that they are tonight's guests for the party. They sit down anxiously, wondering where Jade is, especially Ren, who has missed him very much. In that moment, Jade pops up, greeting them warmly, and the crew tears up seeing their leader safe and sound. Ren steps forward to tell him how much he misses him, and seeing that the Assassin's Guild is together, Grim flies off to fetch Lloyd so he can join them. But suddenly Jade uses Crow's spell to get all of them to bow down, and Jade reveals himself and everyone there to be demons. The assassins are in disbelief, questioning what is happening, but Grim quickly attacks Jade, ordering the others to run after he realizes what they're truly facing. Suddenly, Jade kicks Grim away, even causing him to bleed, and the little fluffy demon lands right beside the sleeping Lloyd, and he quickly tells Lloyd the horror that is happening. Back with Jade, he reveals that he is a demon named Gizarm, who came from across the sea called the Netherworld, and he has the goal to take over Jade's body and use his teleportation ability. He reveals that to take Jade's body away from him, he had to nullify and destroy his mind, body, and soul, taking months of time, even to the point where Jade was willing to slice his own neck off. However, the demon laughed at that idea and even let him die over and over and over again until the point where his mind completely collapsed, with the last thing he thought about was his friends and how much he missed them. Hearing all of this, the Assassin's Guild cries heavily, realizing how much pain and suffering their leader endured while they waited for him, but the demon keeps on laughing at their pain and mocking Jade for losing to him in the end. Ren furiously tries to attack but gets hit hard, pausing for her hairpin to fall, which is the last memory she had of Jade, and the demon visually steps on with no regard. The demon then offers his fellow demonic bodies on which blighted bodies they want to take over, and they start calling dibs on who gets whose body. All the while the assassins can only hear themselves being treated like disposable objects. Just then, the demon notices the symbol on Ren's body, and demands that she spill out who engraved the spell on her. She quickly bites her own tongue so she won't fall under the devil's spell, and the others want more than anything to help her, but are unable to do anything. The demon then gets closer, saying again and again for her to say the name of the mage who engraved her, and she is slowly losing her ability to hold back. Before she says anything more, barriers suddenly protect the assassins, and from above, a massive bomb of light is dropped at the demons' heads, and the culprit reveals himself as the mage the demons asked for, Lloyd. Lloyd quickly heals Ren from her injuries and urges the assassins to leave the demons to him, saying that their bodies are the ones the demons are targeting. While Ren refuses to run, Galilea and the others quickly pull her away, insisting that this battle is above their weight class and that they should put their faith in Lloyd. Gizarm orders the other demons to chase the assassins to get their bodies, but Lloyd refuses to stand still and blows them to pieces. Lloyd then faces off against Gizarm, and other demons try to jump in, but in that moment Lloyd notices Gizarm saying the word death at him, and the word heads towards him. To his surprise, it goes past his barrier, and he wonders whether he should take the hit out of curiosity. But Grim tells him to dodge, and when he does so, the word hits one of the demons, and the demon dies due to cardiac arrest. Seeing this, Lloyd realizes that the spell is similar to Crow's word spell, but 100 times more effective, so he concludes that his barrier would be pointless against it. Graham jumps in to explain that there are different levels of demons, and while Grim himself is level 3 and the weak goons are level 10, this demon they're facing is a netherworld royalty, meaning he's a demon lord on par with hundreds of level 1 demons. Grim insists that Lloyd retreats, but Lloyd instead flies closer to the demon, wanting to satisfy his curiosity. The demon expresses his annoyance towards Lloyd for dropping a nuke at his lair, while Lloyd tells this demon that he screwed up by messing with his new buddies. Meanwhile, the low-level demons manage to catch up to the assassins, and while Babylon climbs up to open the gates, the others hold back the demons from reaching them. Remembering how Lloyd helped them master their powers, Galileo steps forward with his spider webs and stops the demons from moving. Then, Crow jumps in with his cursed words and pushes all the demons straight down to the ground, proving that, despite being assassins, they are good people deep down. In that moment, Babylon successfully opens the gate, and Crow quickly helps Ren to escape with him. However, the demons get back up, but Talia moves quickly to make sure all of them are in her eyesight, and quickly cuts herself, which affects the demons as well. She urges everyone to escape, insisting that they leave her behind, knowing that the demons will catch up sooner or later. The demons then regenerate from the pain and get back up, but Talia quickly stabs herself this time, stopping the demons on their track. But then, Galileo pushes Ren and Crow outside the gates, and he decides to join Talia in her sacrifice. She protests to him for joining her, but he insists that he will be there when she delivers her death blow. Hearing that the demons realize what's going to happen in panic, so they quickly charge, but Galileo intervenes and stops them, giving Talia time to do what needs to be done. She imagines in her head how her beloved captain felt when he had a blade to his neck over and over again, and Ren begs her not to do it, refusing to lose the family that she found, but Talia resolves her decision and she delivers her death blow. Back with Lloyd, both he and the demon want to chop each other's heads off, and the demon throws the first shot at Lloyd, and he almost destroys Lloyd's barrier by using only a small, sharp mana. Seeing this, Grim realizes that they are screwed, and the demon ups the level by summoning thousands of the same knife-like mana and starts shooting them at Lloyd like a machine gun, while Lloyd flies away, avoiding every single shot, with each shot that hits him weakening his barrier. Suddenly, the demon teleports close and kicks Lloyd's barrier, completely shattering it, making even Grim start crying. He then shoots a massive arrow at Lloyd from the back, but Lloyd manages to just summon a giant wooden figure to take the hit instead of him. Lloyd praises the demon for managing to use teleportation, but points out that teleportation doesn't belong to him. The demon laughs at his statement, claiming that blighted beings like Jade and the other assassins should just die, considering they couldn't use their own abilities and give up their bodies for perfect mana-mastering beings like himself and demons, whose wings fly higher than Jade could ever imagine. Suddenly, Lloyd gets stabbed in the heart from a surprise attack, and then gets stabbed some more by a 100 mana needle. With Lloyd's death, the demon then turns his attention towards Ren and the others, but while he's distracted, Lloyd suddenly pops up and almost chops his head off, revealing that the Lloyd who died is nothing but a wooden decoy. The demon lord then notices that Lloyd has a sword in his hand, and he gets excited over the fact that the battle is not over, but Lloyd suddenly asks that they go somewhere else to fight, confusing the demon. In that moment, fires start raining down on the low-level demons, surprising Talia, who is just about to take her own life. Someone completely destroys the gate, and from the dust walks in the second prince of the kingdom, Prince Albert himself, alongside the others who are here to save Lloyd. Ren and the others are glad to see help has arrived, but both Albert and Sylvia quickly get them down on their knees, demanding that they explain what they did to Lloyd and where he is. Dean tries to urge them to focus on the demons first, but both of them refuse and insist that the assassins pay for what they did to Lloyd. Sylvia threatens to cut their heads off for every minute they don't speak, and Ren quickly tells her that Lloyd is fighting in the castle against the boss of demons for the assassin's sake. However, Babylon quickly shuts her up, reminding her how they promised to Lloyd that if Albert and the others pop up, they won't tell them the truth about Lloyd's power, as he himself only wanted to learn about magic and nothing more. Remembering that, Ren quickly starts yapping about some absolute donkey's dingus of a lie that Lloyd is fighting some weak loser, but that fails to convince Sylvia, so she intends to cut Ren's head off first. They then plead with Albert to believe them, but Albert pulls out Lloyd's clothes and demands an explanation for why it's so slimy. Galileo tries to explain himself and how his slime sticks to everyone he touches, but that only makes things worse, as it makes everyone think that he's the new Jeffrey Epstein. Out of desperation, Ren steps up and begs them to trust her, claiming that Lloyd is fighting for their sake after how her family was taken away from her, even willingly giving herself to get punished for them to trust her. Suddenly, Alice pops up with her Fenrir, and using her ability to feel, she insists that they believe in Ren's words. Albert ends up choosing to believe Alice's word and turns his attention towards the demons, but orders Sylvia to retrieve Lloyd. Suddenly, the bridge gets shot, and it gets completely blown up, making it impossible for them to cross. They notice the demons swimming in the river, and Albert urges them to retreat to prevent the demons from getting past them. They retreat to the riverbank, and they manage to burn the demons using their spellbound swords, but the demons keep regenerating, and Deanne urges Albert to find a way to defeat them, reminding him that the guards will soon run out of mana from using the magic swords. Albert decides that it's best for Sylvia to attack them while they're burning, but she suddenly disappears and is busy trying to get to the other side of the bridge while on top of Shiro. While Sylvia is busy thinking of a way, Shiro remembers how kind Lloyd is and decides to jump, which ends with him floating on the river. Suddenly, one of the low-level demons attacks Sylvia, and she manages to perfectly defend herself. The demon praises her and introduces himself as a level 8 demon who specializes in demonic sword skills. But Sylvia still marks this demon's poop-shaped hat and welcomes the challenge. It turns out that Lloyd and the Demon Lord were the ones who blew up the bridge to prevent them from interfering with their fight. After a quick chit-chat, the two continue battling each other. Suddenly, Albert is about to be attacked by a demon when Babylon suddenly saves him and offers him a truce so they can fight together. Albert accepts, and Babylon tells Albert how much he reminds him of their leader, Jade, seeing how kind they both are. But because of that, Babylon tells Albert to let go of his feelings towards these demons they're facing, insisting that the human body they took over no longer has their human souls. Albert thanks Babylon for his input, and he feels relief from all the weight he had to carry. He then steps forward towards the low-level demons, and using his magic, he casts a powerful spell to set free the poor people of Lordost, and drops a literal meteor shower at them. Dean praises his brother for his bravery, but Albert reminds them that they are fighting for their fallen neighboring kingdom. Back with Sylvia, she clashes swords with the Egghead Demon, with both swordsmen using their signature blade forms, using up all the animation budget for this fight alone. It ends with both fighters bleeding on the head, proving that they are equals, but the Egghead Demon easily regenerates and heals himself, insisting that demons surpass the capabilities of pathetic humans like Sylvia. He then starts yapping about how he decided to take over Sylvia's body, so he can do the freaky deaky and use her sword arts as well. He suddenly demonstrates a whole different sword technique, completely taking Sylvia by surprise, and the demon reveals that it's the sword technique belonging to the human whose body he took over. He starts mocking about how this pathetic human must have had a pathetic life, only for him to lose his own body and get worn like a doll. Suddenly, Sylvia hits the demon with his own demonic sword technique, shocking the demon, and she explains that she learned it merely by watching him. When the demon says he couldn't do that, Sylvia marks this chopped Humpty Dumpty-looking demon on how he couldn't learn sword skills like a pathetic human like herself. The others join to mock Humpty Dumpty, and that triggers the demon's anger. Just then, Shiro pops up after climbing from the river, and Sylvia suddenly starts rummaging through Shiro's fur to pull out a special-looking sword, which she uses to oar a farm. Days before, in the middle of her training, Lloyd and Dean approached her to hand her a special magical sword they had made for her as thanks for her help in the dungeon. Lloyd explained that whenever they practiced sword fighting, he always noticed that she seemed to hold her true powers back, and he realized it was because she was scared to break her swords. But with her special sword now, they insist that it's perfect to defeat demons, who can only be defeated by a single deadly strike to avoid their regeneration abilities. Sylvia quickly hugged him for being so caring and noticing what she was going through, promising that she would take care of that sword with all her heart and not fail as she did before against Pazuzu. Back in the present, she aims the blade at the Egghead Demon, and the demon laughs at her attempt to change the future, insisting that it's already determined. He reveals that it was their plan all along to trigger a war and force Jade to return home, knowing he hated war, just so they could get his body. That angers the other assassins, and Ren runs to attack the demon, but Sylvia quickly stops this stupid little twerp and insists that she will handle it. She then gets into position, and the demon accepts the challenge, but in the blink of an eye, she cuts him dead, proving that she's the superior swordsman. Seeing the dude's corpse, Sylvia expresses how she believed that the person he once was a kind man before a demon took over, and how she would have loved to spar with him. Ren and the assassins start praying for him despite not knowing who he is, and Sylvia tells them that they are too kind to be assassins. Suddenly, something explodes, and it completely evaporates the whole river. Just a few minutes ago, Lloyd was in the middle of avoiding the Demon Lord's attacks, analyzing every move that he faced from the barrier-piercing mana spears, the deadly cursed speech, the shadow wolf that caught his decoy, and the teleportation he struggled to keep up with. So he decides the best course of action is to cast an absolute juggernaut of a spell, aiming it at the Demon Lord, but the demon dodges, and the attack results in the whole river evaporating and creating steam all around them, essentially blinding the normal human eye. However, Lloyd knows he's at risk, so he quickly uses his enemy detection magic to figure out where the demon is, and when he does, he quickly moves fast to avoid getting hit by his shadow wolf. However, he realizes that the demon is not moving at all, and it confuses him, so he starts thinking deeply, and he remembers how the demon sent the letter to the Assassin's Guild precisely, and how the demon was so scared that they couldn't find the assassins if they decided to hide again. At that moment, he realizes that the demon lord needs to see where he is to use his teleportation, so Lloyd tests that theory, and while Grimm is questioning his decision more quickly proves his theory correct when he sees the demon lord walking around confused about where Lloyd is. Using the steam to his advantage, Lloyd delivers a surprise attack in the form of 100 shadow clone jutsu, all swarming at the demon lord, and the demon fully admits that he can't tell which one it is until he feels the sword in his neck. With that, he pulls the real Lloyd away and stabs him with his spears, stating that neither magic nor physical damage affects him. However, it confuses the demon lord about why the clothes are not disappearing, and when he looks at the one he stabbed, he realizes it's just a decoy and that Lloyd decided to give the real sword to the decoy. It frightens him and makes him question where Lloyd is, knowing he cannot detect him. He quickly expects Lloyd to come from above, but it turns out he's in front of him, and Lloyd burns him before quickly pretending to be one of his clones again. Lloyd knows that despite managing the trick using his decoys, this plan is extremely risky, and it proves to be right when the demon lord decides to spam his spears in every direction, hitting all the decoys. It hits one of them, and the demon lord quickly fetches him and breaks his head, thinking he has won, but to his surprise, it also turns out to be a decoy, as he continues ripping through the hundreds of decoys, wondering where the real Lloyd is. Our Chad main character is taking the biggest risk by merely concealing his presence, while not wearing any barrier as he approaches the demon lord with his blade. He designs his blade, called the Spelltaker Blade, purely out of his love for magic, as it is capable of absorbing or analyzing someone's spell. Grimm watches in total fear, realizing that Lloyd intends to decipher the very spell that Jade spent his life struggling to master, and he knows that Lloyd should just retreat, but deep down, he acknowledges Lloyd as the biggest magic maniac he has ever known, so he fully supports Lloyd in this gamble that he's having with life and death, so he can bring peace to Jade's will. After managing to get a cut on the demon lord's spell, he enters the realm of magic to decipher the demon lord's strongest spell, the Shadow Wolf, and he finally sees the answer that Jade has been looking for to decipher it. After figuring that out, Lloyd simply presents himself right in front of the demon lord, saying that he now understands it. The demon lord mocks Lloyd's confidence, telling the seventh prince that he's a fool for fighting alongside the humans when he can run wild across the world with a demon like him and be all-powerful. But Lloyd tells the demon lord that the fool in the situation is him, saying that just like a lion never questions its strength, the demon lord is the same way, which makes him the biggest fool of all. He expresses that humans like him and the others follow the path of magic out of their love and dreams and sorcery, and not their search for power, which Lloyd knows is what makes magic infinitely interesting. The demon lord laughs and attacks, but Lloyd quickly counters, shocking the demon lord that his teleportation is countered. Lloyd then marks the demon lord, saying that his punch wasn't even based on magic, and it was chi technique, which he learned even as a mage. Believing that sorcerers like them should always crave to learn something new to always evolve. Lloyd then sits down, heals his wounds, and absolutely mogs the demon lord with his aura. He then reminds the demon lord of what Jade said before he died, and it brought the demon back to the moment where he was about to take Jade's body, and right before Jade's soul perishes, he told the demon lord that he would lose, which at that time was something that the demon lord laughed at. But now, those words trigger the demon lord to attack, but gets countered again. And Lloyd continuously goes after the demon lord to absolutely give him the 5-piece chicken McNugget sandwich with no drinks and treat him like a ragdoll. As Lloyd is about to push the demon lord into the magma, the demon quickly teleports, but still gets blitzed up to the sky. In that moment, Lloyd reflects on how all his life, he has always loved reading spellbooks, as it made him imagine all the wonderful and interesting people behind such wonderful spells. She always believed that it would be a blessing for him to meet one of those people, and now he got to meet one in the form of Jade, who inspires him to continue his love for magic. With no other options, the demon lord gets desperate, and he activates a spell that only demon lords have, which gathers all the mana in the atmosphere. With that much power, he creates almost like a dark spirit bomb capable of perishing anything that has ever existed, and it is called the Mortal Dark Sphere. When he drops it, he fully expects it to erase Lloyd, but Lloyd simply uses one hand and makes it disappear, shocking the demon lord. He questions what Lloyd did, and Lloyd explains that he simply had the same spell under his belt called the Void, which he read about in a spell book. At that time, he tried it himself and destroyed multiple mountains, but then he wondered what would happen if two voids clashed, and when he experimented with it, the two voids disappeared, which disappointed him the same way the Demon Lord is disappointing him now. The Demon Lord starts yapping his anger, refusing to believe that this blue-haired little jit can copy the trump cards of any Demon Lords, but Lloyd suddenly sneezes out of boredom, and the Demon Lord angrily holds his head due to feeling insulted. In that moment, he finally senses the true mana that lies inside Lloyd's body, and all he feels in that moment is terror. Lloyd then suggests the experiment on whether demons will die if they get hit by the Void, and the Demon Lord tries running away, but Lloyd catches him with his Void. In that moment, while Albert and the others are fighting off the low-level demons, they realize that the sun has suddenly disappeared, and when they look up, they see that above the castle, it turns into nighttime. There, the Demon Lord is being sucked into the Void, and as he desperately tries to get out, he decides to leave Jade's body, but Jade's body bites into the Demon Lord's soul, refusing to let him leave. Like a true pathetic coward, the Demon Lord starts pretending to be Jade, claiming that he is alive and begs the assassins to help him, but Lloyd watches with disgust and activates a second Void to squish the little bug out of existence, putting an end to this Demon Lord. For a brief moment, Lloyd can sense Jade's presence, thanking him for freeing his body. As the night sky disappears and the light returns, Ren watches and recalls how Jade once told a rumor about the Seventh Prince, and told the others about the rumor that during Lloyd's birth, he accidentally cast the spell that almost blew the whole castle. Galilea questioned why he even brought some bozo gossip, but Jade expressed how amazing it would be if there were a true magical prodigy in existence, bringing up the idea that maybe one day, the Seventh Prince would be the one who freed them from their curse and helped them finally live away from the darkness. Now in the present, Ren watches Lloyd making Jade's dying dream come true, and she tears up, realizing that they are now finally free. After the battle is over, they create graveyards for the people of Lordost who lost their lives, and Grimm praises Lloyd for being able to decipher the Demon Lord's Shadow Wolf spell and win the battle. Lloyd admits that due to his curiosity, he wouldn't be able to sleep at night if he failed to decipher the spell's nature, and that he was only able to defeat the Demon Lord because he got the spell figured out. However, Lloyd corrects Grimm and informs him that while deciphering the spell, the answer to the Shadow Wolf spell was presented in front of him, and that the person responsible for it was none other than Jade himself, who spent his whole life deciphering it, meaning that the person who won the battle was not Lloyd, but it was Jade. Meanwhile, Ren listens in with tears in her eyes, now knowing that Jade died fighting, and she wants nothing more than to tell Lloyd how grateful she is. But before she do so, Albert pops up with the others, and he confronts Lloyd over the whole incident. He reveals that he knows the whole story of how the Assassin's Guild asked for his help, which ended with them discovering the demonic presence in the kingdom of Lordost, and how strong and kind Lloyd is. However, Albert states that for their past crimes, the Assassin's Guild had to be punished, and they have offered that their punishment be serving Lloyd for their whole lives. Albert believes that they're honest and earnest with their intentions, so now it's up to Lloyd to make that decision, but he warns Lloyd that if any of the assassins make a mistake, Lloyd will have to take responsibility in the face of the royal family. Despite all the pressure on his shoulders, Lloyd decides to take them in, and is fully ready to take responsibility. Seeing how truthful his brother is, Albert goes on his knees and says that even though Lloyd is a prince, he is also Albert's beloved little brother, so he wants Lloyd to ask for help whenever he needs it. It ends with them hugging and Albert being proud of his little brother, while others watch, feeling touched. Just then, Tao pops up, thinking that the fight is still happening, but when she sees the grave and the hugs, she realizes that she's too late and quickly runs away. The others go after her, and Grimm praises Lloyd for taking these assassins in, but Lloyd informs him that he believes that the assassins embody the love he has for magic, and after what happened to Jade, he refuses to let anything like this happen again. Afterward, the assassins are taken off their cuff and have fully become Lloyd's servants. They then join a tea party with Albert, and Albert insists that they have a good time. The assassins say that their idea of a good time is different, and Albert asks them to show him. When they do show it to him, it's full of booze, drunks, food, tomfoolery, and Albert getting rizzed up by the all-hot and busty Talia, to which he enjoys. Meanwhile, Ren is spending time with Sylvia and Alice, while giving us some fan service. Ren begs that she serve under Lloyd the same way Sylvia does, wanting to show how grateful she is as much as possible. Sylvia reveals that Lloyd is the one who makes decisions, and to Ren's surprise, he pops up and simply agrees to her request. She asks if he didn't mind her, as the poison blighted, But Lloyd assures her that he never saw her as someone who's cursed, and instead believes that she could use her poison for good, like becoming a pharmacist who uses her poison to make medicines and vaccines. Hearing his kindness, Ren recalls how people shun her out due to her curse, but now she gets to meet someone who sees the light in her, so she promises that she will work hard for him. When they return to the castle, life returns to normal with Ren learning under Sylvia to become a maid and serving Lloyd. Then, Lloyd and Albert have to face the king and do their noble duties. But in his spare time, Lloyd spends his days doing what he loves the most, reading spell books like a true magic maniac. If you watch this anime recap until the end, comment down Magic Maniac. That's it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more, watch this video on screen.